This is how the tractor should look like at the end. Okay, what do we have here? Well, the packaging, I can tell you, is fantastic. First piece, very well packaged. This is the front piece where the front wheels will go on. The wheels are rubber, not plastic, and they're on a metal rim, the second back tire. These are the gears for the pedal. There's a little sprocket here, then there's a big sprocket here, and that's the back axle. And now, guys, comes the real deal. Oh, look at this. This is heavy, guys. This is really heavy. Look at this. This is the metal piece. It's a little bit smaller and narrow than it looks on the picture, but it is very solid. So all we got left are these boxes here. Okay, those are the front wheels. I guess these are the hubs where the axle goes through. Screws, plastic pieces, the plastic paddles for the tractor. That's the chain. I don't know what that is. The pieces where the front wheels sit on, I'm pretty sure. This is the exhaust. This is the air intake from the tractor. Now the seat is out of plastic. It feels really good and solid. The most important part from the tractor. I got all the parts on the table. It doesn't look so terribly bad. There's a couple tools you require to put the whole thing together. There's also an explosion drawing here in case you ever need spare parts. It's like a 6-step instruction manual to put this tractor together. Now, I'm the person who likes to do that without instruction manual. I just like to see and challenge myself if I can get it together without the instructions. However, for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the instructions and not to make a fool out of myself. Now, the first thing that goes on is the seat. Don't over-tight it, it's plastic and it can crack. The steering wheel goes on. Now starts phase 2. It's the cranking pedal that has to be assembled together. And it goes very quick. You just have to take the washer, put the washer on, then put the pedal on, and then there's a crank nut that goes at the end. Okay, I've never done that before. That's a shrink nut. And it goes at the end, on the end cap there. And they give you a plastic tool here that goes over here, and then you slam with a hammer on top of here. And that makes the pedal stick together. It looks pretty solid. If it's gonna hold up over time, time will show. Now the next step is to install the chain drive of the tractor. Therefore, it's recommended that you take the entire tractor and put it on the steering wheel and the little seat. You take the chain, put it over the pedal assembly, put it into the little sprocket there, feed it through the tunnel, through the drive tunnel, lift it out at the end here, and then feed the sprocket with the back axle through the chain. There's one side of the axle that is squared off, and that has to show to the right side of the tractor. Because the tractor is on its back side, it has to be on the left side of the tractor. So you feed that through, put the chain into the sprocket, let it hang there. In the next step, the hubs are going over the axle. An M6 bolt is put through here. Put the nut onto this wrench. It's shaped in a half moon, so you can reach better in there. And then you can assemble the bolt and put it into the nut. The hub is installed, but it's not fixed yet. See, I can still move it back and forth. That's important for later tightening the chain. We try to install the front axle here, where the pedals are attached on. That is as challenging as the back piece because it's really hard to reach the bolts. And you really have to fiddle the whole thing together. So now next step is that we first tighten the front part and then we pull the chain with the back assembly back and tighten the chain. Now we have to tighten the chain and fasten the bolts on the back part. The chain has to have a little bit of play here. I got it pretty tight, but I assume that the chain will loosen a little bit over time. Maybe we even have to fasten that in a couple months or so. Now that we have the chain installed, we're working on the front axle. The front axle consists out of a plastic piece, which is actually really good quality plastic. I wish it would have been metal as well. They support the whole thing with a metal strap that goes underneath. These, I don't know what the name from them is, they go in here. That's the piece that holds the wheel in the end. And those ones go into the holes here and are held together by the tiny screw that you put in place here. You know, that is very questionable if that is really holding up. This is the assembled front axle now. So what's next is that we install the front tires of the tractor. And those tires are again fastened to the axle with cap nuts. And those cap nuts I cannot slam on here because they're gonna ruin my table. So it's very recommendable that you use your vise on your workbench for that. And then you can hammer those cap nuts onto the axle. Now we're ready to install the back wheels. I put a little flat piece on one side of the axle that you know in which way the tractor tire goes on. They give you a little pin that holds the entire wheel together, and this pin, it's way too thin in my opinion. The tires will go like that over time because this can't hold any strength. This is not trustworthy, John Deere. I don't know what you thought about that. That is like Mickey Mouse. I found a couple nails. They're very strong and they also have an end cap. So I put them through this tiny hole here on the side. And then I just take the hammer and bend them around. That should be strong enough. We are now ready to put the caps over here. And that is done by taking a piece of wood and a hammer and carefully hammering them. Ouch! Next step is that we have to put this front assembly into place. And that goes by putting this hole into the steering shaft. This is where the steering comes off from the steering wheel. That goes into that hole, while this pin has to go through the front axle and holds it so that the entire wheel assembly can do this here. You have to do two things at the same time. You basically have to bring the nose down. But in order to bring the nose down, the entire tractor has to rest on the steering wheel. And the whole thing is completely unstable. That means you have not two hands to install the last bolt that has to hold this last piece here in place. It is just impossible. This is really driving me crazy. Ah! How shall a single mother of four install that at home? This is definitely a two-man job. It looked so easy in the beginning. Now it's getting really challenging here because that thing is heavy too. So now I got it. I got it by chance. And this is how it looks when it is completely in place. There's a square bolt that goes onto here. And this hole is so tiny, you can't find it on the other side. Oh, I got it, finally. That took like 10 minutes now. So now you tighten that and that holds the pin in place. The last things that are left to do now is to put the little caps, the little plastic caps here and there to cover the underbody from the tractor. One goes into the front and that's self-explaining. Here we go. My overall impression to install this tractor is that you have to have tools, you have to have a workbench, you have to have a vise to slam the end caps on, and you need to be patient assembling the front axle. This is really a complicated piece. Good. Now we turn the whole thing around. Here it is. I got it. We have to add a couple details here. The exhaust goes onto the front. The air intake goes here. All that's left now is to put the stickers onto the tractor. I usually don't like to have stickers of any kind on my equipment, But here it makes sense because it covers the screws and it gives it a more slick look. And what I also do is I'm gonna grease the chain a little bit. They left a little tiny hole there, so you can actually grease the chain without opening the covers. Runs like a deer. To mention that it's one wheel driven, and that's necessary, otherwise you can't make any turns. So my overall impression of this John Deere 4440 kids tractor is that it is very robust for a toy. The entire body is out of steel. It makes it very heavy. You saw me lifting that thing. The pedals make a very robust impression to me. The back tires are out of rubber, same as the front tires. They have a steel rim here. They have a plastic rim in the front. The tires are very sturdy and very, very firm. The seat out of plastic, well, you know, that might be good because, you know, the water might stand in here so it's not rusting. The assembly of the tractor was, to say the least, challenging. You should definitely have a help to hold you the tractor into the right position. Especially here the front wheel assembly, that was something I spent at least 15 minutes on. What I don't like about the tractor is that this piece here is plastic. That should have been out of metal. See that here? The details here, like the exhaust and the air filter, looks pretty cool. The steering wheel looks very solid. I must say you get something really for your money here. Is it worth 500 Canadian dollars? Yeah, I would say so. If you have more than one child, it's good because I'm sure you can pass that through several generations. If you consider this 4440 John Deere toy tractor as a gift for your child, I can highly recommend it, especially because the kids have to pedal themselves and don't sit on an electric driven SUV. I'm very excited to see my little one's eyes when this is under the Christmas tree. Have a Merry Christmas.